What's going on, everyone? So the Miami Heat got greedy and they didn't land Damian Lillard, and that was a huge blow to Miami, right? I don't think Miami thought for a second he was going to the Milwaukee Bucks, and I don't believe Miami would have beaten Milwaukee in the first round if Giannis was fully healthy, and I don't see Miami coming out of the Eastern Conference. Could they, dice kind of roll their way again and maybe make the conference finals? Sure, of course. They've done it several times already the last few years. So I don't ever want to rule them out. But, I mean, Miami played hardball, right? You got the reports that, hey, we're not desperate. If he goes, he goes. We still believe that we're a contender, all that stuff. And I think they were looking at it as like, all right, if he goes to the Raptors, it sucks, but we're still good. If he goes to one of these other random teams, it sucks, but he's still good. I don't think they anticipated him going to the Milwaukee Bucks, and that hurts Miami. Again, I don't care what you think. I'm sure Miami fans are trying to justify it and whatever, but this hurt. This was a huge blow because Miami does need something. They basically rolled the dice and gambled that Damian Lillard was coming in the Miami Heat. So why they let go of most of the guys that they did. And he ended up not coming. Wasn't because of him. I mean, he clearly wanted to go to Miami, but Miami wasn't willing to put in the work and get what needed to be done. And the Portland Trailblazers, we got the reports that they weren't willing to give Miami an opportunity to kind of one up the Milwaukee Bucks, that they just traded him. But that's the name of the game. Again, we just saw this very thing happen last offseason with Donovan Mitchell. The Knicks got cocky. They thought they had him. Donovan Mitchell wanted to go to the Knicks. Everybody thought he was headed to the Knicks, and the Cavs came in and swooped them up. Same thing happened with Dame and the Milwaukee Bucks. But what happens now? Where does Miami go? So we got the reports that they're not interested in James Harden, and I fully agree. They need to stay as far away from James Harden as possible. I understand there is this level of like, we messed up, we dropped the ball, we need to rectify it. You see a lot of organizations do that. I don't think Miami's one of those organizations. I don't think that they'll do it. Pat Riley's pretty level-headed when it comes to this stuff. But James Harden is, I think, the last thing that they need. Now, a fully bought in and committed James Harden, I think would be great for Miami. Problem is in the playoffs, I don't think he solves Miami's biggest issue, which is that closer and that natural scorer that could be big down the stretch for them. Because James Harden has proven time and time again, year after year, that he completely disappears in the playoffs. During the regular season, I think Miami would be tough, right? Because James Harden, in a lot of the same ways that Damian Lillard, that guy that can go give you 30 every single night, I actually think James Harden would be more dynamic for the Miami Heat because his ability to go get 30, but also go get, 15 assists and also go grab, 8 to 10 rebounds. Like, I just think he would be has the potential to be more impactful, but he completely disappears in the playoffs, and that is huge. And two, he is as far away from Heat culture as possible, and Miami doesn't need that headache. But problem is the well is really dry right now as far as like those impact guys that could go and get him. Now, I don't necessarily see them doing anything this season, but maybe next offseason, can you go get Donovan Mitchell? So Donovan Mitchell doesn't look like he's going to sign an extension with the Cavs. As soon as the Cavs traded for him, there was all immediately talks that like as soon as he can get out of there, he's getting out of there. And they offered him an extension, and he said no. They don't need to panic yet. It's not panic mode yet because they don't really need to worry about him signing an extension until next offseason. But if they offer him an extension and he says no, the Cavs are going to have to start looking to trade him because he can opt out the following year, and then you lose him for nothing. And he's still young enough and talented enough. He's still going to get the same amount of money elsewhere. Right? So he very likely leaves the Cavs. So if you're Miami, do you do everything in your power to push your chips to the table and go get Donovan Mitchell because he solves a lot of the same issues that Damian Lillard does. He's also younger, and that is huge. Couple questions, though. One, does Donovan Mitchell want to play for the Miami Heat and be on Miami? I don't see why he wouldn't. He fits the culture, right? He would be with great talent, would be a legit contender on a contending team, playing with Jimmy and Bam, and having a head coach and Eric Spoelstra. Like, now you get to be in beautiful weather and all that stuff, right? Like, if you were going down a checklist, Miami checks off a lot for Donovan Mitchell. The biggest problem, though, is we know he wants to go to the Knicks, and we know the Knicks can mightily outbid Miami. And so that becomes a real problem. Now, could they like, if the Cavs value, like, say, a Tyler Hero more, like, to me, it would come down to, like, what do the Cavs really value, right? Like, what are the Knicks willing to give up, for one? And two, how high do they view Tyler Hero, right? Because if they're like, oh, man, Tyler Hero could be an all-star guy, like, we really like him, like, he could kind of be our Donovan Mitchell replacement as far as scoring goes, he's young, right? That could be enticing, right? Also, I don't know why the Knicks want Donovan Mitchell. I just don't get it. It doesn't really make sense to me. I mean, you already have Jalen Brunson. They're kind of the same thing. But the other kind of benefit would be if Giannis doesn't sign the extension, do the Knicks wait for him and see what happens with him and go, you know what? We'd love Donovan Mitchell, but if we can get Giannis, right? Like, that's just kind of a thought. A couple other names that come to mind, right? Like DeMar DeRozan. Can a DeMar DeRozan, I could see him being available. He kind of solves a lot of the same issues that DeMar DeRozan solves, or that Damian Lillard solves. Also, DeMar DeRozan has been one of, if not the most clutch players in the league the last 3 years. He was, not last year, but the year earlier, or year prior, he was the number one clutch player in the entire league. He has been money in closeouts. So that could be a huge benefit. That's a guy that also kind of fits Miami's timeline. And he's Mr. Reliable, dude. That guy plays like 70-plus games every year. Trae Young is another name that comes to mind. There's a lot of talks about Trae Young potentially wanting out of Atlanta. Supposedly he wants to go to the Lakers, but like, how much of that report, that report came out like a month ago or whatever, or maybe even longer. How much of that report is just, it's the Lakers, right? And so every time a star or a name becomes available, they're immediately linked to the Lakers, because that's just how it goes with the Lakers. But Trae Young, again, kind of solves a lot of the same issues, right? Guy that could just go and get absolute buckets, gives you the same type of spacing that Dame gives you. A guy that can make plays and really kind of run the offense for you. So, and a lot of his flaws are the same as Damian Lillard. So, but he's younger, right? So, I don't know. Like, I think somebody like that could really be beneficial, because that's what they need. They need that consistent go-to score. They need that guy that can just go get buckets on a nightly basis, consistent basis. I also like the idea of them going and trading for Drew. I mean, you want to talk about a Heat culture guy. Drew fits that beautifully. And him, Bam, and Jimmy Butler would just be tough, right? Like, I mean, I don't think Drew Holiday's the guy that, like, makes them a contender, but man, they would be tough. Like, on both sides of the basketball, and Drew Holiday and his ability to go give you 20 on any given night, like, I really do like the idea. But one, I don't know if Miami would be willing to do that, right? Because they just got spurned by them. Also, would the Blazers be willing to do that? And what would Miami be willing to give up? You know? Because there was the talks that Portland, they wanted Jimmy Butler or Bam Adebayo. I don't know how much I believe that. I don't really think they thought either that. And Jimmy Butler makes no sense for Portland, right? They're rebuilding. So I don't really like Bam maybe makes a little sense. But even then, like I don't really buy those reports. Did they ask about them? Probably. Because why wouldn't you? Like you'd be a terrible GM if you did it, right? Because what happens if they say yeah? What if they're like, yeah, we'll trade you Bam for Dame? Like you'd be silly not to at least ask. But I don't know. I don't know. I mean, you never know who's that next guy. Like every year, there's 2 or 3 guys that become available, right? Or 2 or 3 guys that seem to be like, okay, like these are a guy. But does some team underperform, right? Like what if Phoenix's big 3 experiment doesn't work out, right? Like what if Bradley Beal just can't fit with Devin Booker and Kevin Durant and it's becoming a disaster and they want to get off Bradley Beal? Maybe go get Bradley Beal. I mean, there's definitely options out there, but Miami's window is tough right now as far as contention goes, and I don't see anybody walking through that door to save them, at least right now. This year, they're probably going to be in a tough spot, but maybe next year, like I said, maybe something can come of it. Maybe somebody becomes available. I think DeMar DeRozan is probably the guy that I lean towards. Because again, DeMar kind of solves a lot of the same things that Dame solves, as being that just consistent scorer, that bucket. Problem is, he's not the three-point shooter that Dame is, right? Which the spacing, there's questions about the spacing, but I mean, DeMar hasn't had problems being a bucket getter, right? That's a guy that go give you 25 to 30 on a nightly basis. Top of giving you 25 to 30 on a nightly basis is one of the clutch players in the entire league. I think that that's a good place to be in. But anyway, again, as always, this is a discussion, so I pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What do you think Miami should do? Do you think they should wait, try to go get Donovan Mitchell? Do you like the idea of DeMar DeRozan? What do you think? Let me know.